£30 million for Fabian Schar. I want to know, would you keep or sell the 33-year-old defender? Dan Burn has signed a new contract extension. We're going to get into that, as well as all the injury news ahead of tomorrow's game at home to Brighton. Yes, people, welcome back to the Magpie Channel TV. A Friday before the game, after the international break. It's just a great place to be in it. I'm already buzzing to get inside St James's Park tomorrow. We've got loads of great content coming your way over the weekend, so make sure you smash a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as I've said in the title and in the little intro there, loads to get into. Eddie Howe's presser this morning, plenty of injury news, some good, some bad. Guess who's still injured, eh? No payouts. No prizes for who that is. We'll talk about that briefly later on. I really can't be bothered to talk about that much because we've spent enough time in my life talking about a certain Callum Wilson and his lack of game time. But let's start off with the title, and that is Fabian Schar linked to a £30 million move to the likes of Saudi Arabia. There's also interest from Qatar, from China, from France, from Al-Ahly, to be honest with you, for the Swiss defender. Is he 33 now or is he about to turn 33? Can't remember. Either way, at that age, 30 million quid. Personally, and I have to take a deep breath, and I have to be a bit disappointed and gutted at the thought of losing the handsome Fab. But, yeah, I can't say no to 30 million. 30 million quid for a defender of that age. I know he's brilliant. I know he's fantastic. He's aging like a fine Swiss wine. You know what I mean? You don't want to get rid of him. But at the same time, for PSR and FFP, 30 million quid for someone we paid 3 million for several years ago. And obviously we're linked with Gahey, and we've got Botman coming back, and, you know, the Selder's still floating about somewhere, and everyone else. Then I think with Shaw, that's out of the old in with the new, for me. As reluctant as I would be to see him go, because I absolutely love the bloke, and I think he could still do another job for a couple of years at least, but 30 million quid, even if it was 20 million, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of money. Like I said, it's a big profit from what we bought him for, which I think Shaw is genuinely one of the biggest bargains in Premier League history. The bloke has been unbelievable for the Mags, but at the same time, like I say, you've got to have one eye on the future now, and you've got to think, yeah, this makes sense. And the talks are that Newcastle would have to offer Fabian Schär a big multi-year contract. So the conundrum they have, you know, with his contract expiring soonish, well, do you then give him another 4 years or 3 years what he's asking for on a lot of money a week and be one of our highest earners, or do you cash in? Because if he would sign a 1 year rule and not even a 2 year, that would be fine and boost his weekly wage up a little bit. But if he's wanting a big bump on new contract, you know, at his age, then yeah, I can't really see the sense in that, because of how much we have to be careful now around financial fair play, around PSR. Ooh, 30 million for sure, even anywhere near that, to be honest with you, is a lot of coin, and it would be hard to reject that type of money, to be honest with you. But we love Shaw, and for me, keep me until he's really 60 if he carries on the way he has been. What a player, what a bloke. Can't wait to see him tomorrow, hopefully, against Brighton, which we'll talk all Brighton previews soon. But on defenders, in the 30s, new deals, it was revealed right at the end of today's press conference that Dan Burn has in fact signed an extension, and he won't be a free agent next summer. So a lot of the press conference from the journalists, the questions were aimed at Eddie Howe, Dan Burn, Sean Longstaff, their future. Are they going to get a new deal? Are you going to let them go? Are they up for sale before the contract expires? Whatever. And then right at the end there, media guy Lee Marshall said, oh, just let you know, Dan Burn has actually signed an extension, and his contract doesn't run out until 2025. Great. Listen, I think he stepped up massively since Sven Botman's injury. I think he's been very, very good. He had some rocky spells last season, to say the least, but overall, since we're saying Burn, he's been class. He's been a bargain at 12 million, a giant that he is, and I really like Dan Burn, and it's coming up against his former side, Brighton, tomorrow. So if he can get a goal against them, wave the three fingers about in the air celebrating, and we can get 3 points. But Burn, new contract, makes sense to me. Keep him at the club. Geordie knows the score, gets the culture, can have that effect on other people, and he's obviously a leader as well. Listen, what he'll bring off the pitch will be huge with his vast experience, and he's still performing at a very decent standard for the Toon. So totally agree with that deal for Dan Burn. On to some fitness news then. The team news ahead of the Premier League clash against the Seagulls. Steven Seagal FC, Isak is thankfully fit. The toe is fully healed, he has been in training, and he is in contention for tomorrow. Let me know. Do you chuck him in, or do you continue to go with Anthony Gordon leading the line? I'll chuck him in. Chuck him in big time. He's had the international break. Get him in there. Brighton are a dangerous team. We don't want to have Isaac sitting on the bench and be suffering. Even though Gordon did well, apart from Everton, in that front row that he's been deployed since the knee strikers fit, and that's because Callum Wilson is still not fit. Now, I said I wouldn't rant, wouldn't get into this. Doesn't deserve it. Done enough on previous times talking about Wilson. What I will just say once again is that it's very, very disappointing, to say the least. Wilson was meant to be back the first international break. We then had another couple of months. This is the second international break, and he still isn't available. He hasn't played for months. I can't even find a picture of him in this kit because he had unbelievable stuff, man. Crying shame. Brilliant guy, brilliant goal scorer. Terrible fitness record. Injury prone to say the least. And will Newcastle try and just not play him much and get some money for him in January before his deal runs out next summer? But it's just a big, big disappointment, man, because no Wilson. I was looking forward to seeing him back. I joked on the radio the other day that I was on BBC Radio Newcastle the other day, by the way. You can watch that podcast and listen to it on BBC Sounds, the app. And I said, Wilson, I'm looking forward to seeing him come back. I think he'll be a top player again. I think he'll score against Brighton. Problem is, he'll probably get injured for a fortnight. But we're not going to see him against Brighton, and we're probably not going to see him for a little while, as Eddie Howe says he needs more time. I don't know how many watches that bloke needs, because he's run out of time. He's had so much time. Big Ben, do you know what I mean? That's what we should start calling him. But anyways, we'll move on from Callum Wilson. Good to see Louis Miley back on the grass this week. He is going to get eased in action. Might be in the squad, might be on the bench. But Eddie Howe says he's going to manage his minutes after his comeback. Be great to see that. Kieran Trippier is out for a few weeks due to a hamstring issue that he's had. So we'll see Tino Livramento slot back in at right back. Again, I think this is bad news because Trippier has actually been in good form this season, to be honest with you. Pretty solid. So to see him out with an injury is a shame, but it does give Livramento another chance to solidify that right back slot, which he didn't quite do so far this season. That's why we've seen the return Trippier. Trippier very heavy link to go away, captain's armband taken off him, all the rest of it. Tino wasn't really impressing. Trippier came in and Trippier was doing a good job. So it's time for Tino to step up, his moment. He needs to take it. 8 Mile. What else we got? Eddie Howe was asked about England. I think that's a nice place to go. And I can't read the quote because I'm blind, so I'll put the specs on. How on England? I wasn't interviewed, he said. There was no contact from the FA. England have to do what's right for them. Only they'll know the process they have gone through. For me, about this Newcastle United, I remain 100% focused. If you drop focus, the job becomes impossible. He didn't rule himself out of the job in the future. You have to say that about Eddie Howe. He was asked about it. Is it your goal long-term to be England manager? Would you be England manager in the future? And he said, I just go day to day. I don't look towards that yet, but it would kind of be an honour. That sort of thing you'd expect him to say. So he didn't rule himself out, but the FA ruled him out. And I find this staggering. There's talks that it was because of his apparent $6 million release clause. Other reports are saying he doesn't have a release clause, so it would cost even more than $6 million. So I'm honestly shocked that the FA didn't approach Eddie Howe. I really am. He was the outstanding English candidate. You've only got him and Graham Potter, who I'd have any confidence in doing a decent job, English-wise. We've obviously went for Thomas Tuchel, the German, and I like that appointment. I've said it in other interviews. Eddie Howe said he likes the appointment. He says Tuchel's a great guy. He watched him at Chelsea when he was doing his sabbatical from leaving Bournemouth, and he had a bit of time with Tuchel, a couple of days at Stamford Bridge when he was at Chelsea, and he really rates him, and I rate him. I think his record speaks for itself. I think it's a quality appointment by England. In an ideal world, you'd get someone like Howe, an Englishman, and he'd be the one to win the World Cup. But thankfully, he's committed to the tune. So the funny thing is with England is they apparently had 10 candidates. They interviewed 10 managers. So I don't know who half of them were, to be honest with you, because Pep was number one choice. He doesn't know what he's doing with City yet. City don't know what they're doing with all the charges. You've then got Tuchel, who's got it. Klopp, who wouldn't want it. He's went in Red Bull. And then Eddie Howe is the next best option for me out of those managers. Those are elite world-class managers, the first three. Then Eddie Howe's the next best one, whether he's English or not. And he is English, so he would have been right high up on the list. He didn't get interviewed. Says 3 of them he had to talk to. Potter, 4 maybe. Who else you got? Lampard, not good enough. I really struggle to see who the next 5 managers or so are that they contacted. Honestly, I can't wrap my head around it, but listen, I'm glad they didn't approach Eddie Howe. I'm glad they didn't come knocking on his door. And he's staying firmly at the Mags, because this is where we want him. So yeah, interesting there that England didn't approach him at all. I think they wanted to just give it to Causey, and Causey bottled it, and they had to move fast for Tuchel before Man U got him to replace Ten Hag. So there we go on anyhow in England. Okay, let's finish things off with a quick eye towards Brighton and Hove Albion at St James's Park. I just want to bring up our recent record. The one that sticks out is obviously the 4-1 win a couple of seasons ago that got us Champions League. That was a great, great night. Last year we drew 1-1, Longstaff. We won 2-1 the year before that, 4-1. Then we lost 3-0, drew 0-0, lost 1-0, drew 0-0. So there wasn't great times until that 4-1, to be honest with you, where Dan Burn did score against his former side, as I mentioned earlier. But this one could be the same. I think, listen, Brighton, no matter who the manager is, who the players are, they bring them in, and they still continue to play exciting football. And that young Fabian's done a great job there, Hertzler, at Brighton. Well, great job. I was speaking to Ryan, the Brighton fan over on the Omni app, and he's not totally convinced by him yet because he thinks they're inconsistent on the style of play. They're a bit open, the high line that they play, that we saw Chelsea score plenty of goals past them. So if they play that, we could be in for a treat. And I think it will be an open game. I think it will be a bit chaotic, to be honest with you. But obviously all eyes tomorrow are on Yankuba Minteh. Eddie Howe was asked about him in the press conference, saying he's still gutted that he lost him. He never wanted to lose him, but it was the decision that they had to make. They had to sell him to avoid a points deduction. He was raving about Minteh, saying he would have been playing for Newcastle this year. He's got all sorts of quality, fast, powerful, great left foot. Let's hope we don't see that tomorrow, because it'll be absolutely gutting to see Minteh score. I mean, it seems written, doesn't it? As long as it's not the winner, obviously. But yeah, he's bound to play well, make a point, and that'll be all the headlines. That they've got them written already, haven't they? I hope that's not the case. I really do hope that's not the case. Listen, I like Minteh. I don't think he's looked amazing, but he has looked good. He's very raw, and I think he will become very good. But I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if he scored tomorrow. So will he come back to haunt the tune? Early Halloween special? I don't think so in full. Yeah, he might score, but I still fancy Newcastle to get the win here. Like I said, open, goals. I'm going to go for a 3-2 Newcastle win. Let me know in the comments below what you think the score will be on Saturday afternoon. Good old 3 o'clock kickoff. Just seeing if I missed anything out there. I haven't really. So please do drop your thoughts below. Subscribe to my channel TV and enjoy yourself.